I remember the first time I sensed something was wrong, but I tried to brush it off as paranoia. At first, it was small things. Calls she'd taken another room, hurried goodbyes before heading out late at night, and a faint scent on her clothes. I couldn't place. My wife, Aisha, used to be open and warm, the kind of woman who shared everything with me. But lately, a cold distance had crept between us, like a wall slowly building without warning. She told me she was swamped with work, that the company was undergoing changes, and that she had to stay late often. I believed her. I wanted to believe her. After all, we'd built a life together, shared dreams and promises. But the truth gnawed at me, an itch that refused to go away. Days turned into weeks, and her absence grew more frequent. Dinner tables sat cold, conversations became monosyllabic, and my questions were met with vague answers. I could feel the space widening, but I wasn't ready to admit it. Maybe I was scared. Scared of losing what I loved. One evening, I waited. For her to come home, the house eerily silent except for the ticking clock on the wall. When she finally walked through the door, the faint light from the street lamps cast shadows on her face, and I noticed something. A hesitation in her eyes, a flicker of guilt or fear. I couldn't quite tell. "Aisha," I said softly, "are you okay? You seem different." She forced a smile, brushing past me as if to avoid the question. "Just tired. Work has been stressful." But her words didn't convince me. That night, sleep eluded me. I tossed and turned, replaying every conversation, every moment where her gaze drifted away. My mind was a whirlwind of doubts and suspicions. The next morning, I decided to act. Not out of anger, but desperation for clarity. I couldn't live in uncertainty. So, after she left, I went through her belongings, something I had never done before. Hidden under a pile of papers, I found a receipt for a hotel I didn't recognize. The date was recent, last Friday. My heart pounded. Could she be meeting someone else? No, I told myself. Maybe it was a work event or a client meeting, but the secrecy didn't add up. I confronted her that evening gently. "Aisha, I found this receipt. What's it for?" She looked startled, then composed herself. "Oh, that? Just a conference downtown. You know, the company sometimes hosts these events." Her answer sounded rehearsed. I wanted to believe her again, but the seed of doubt was planted firmly in my mind. Over the following days, I began paying more attention. I noticed subtle changes, a new perfume scent that wasn't hers, a hidden text message quickly deleted when I walked into the room, a smile that didn't reach her eyes when she spoke on the phone. Every detail felt like pieces of a puzzle I was afraid to complete. One night, unable to contain myself, I followed her after work. She said she was going to stay late at the office, but I watched as she entered a nearby cafe instead. My breath caught as I saw her meet a man, someone I had never seen before. Their conversation was close, intimate even. When he brushed a strand of hair from her face, something inside me shattered. I didn't want to watch anymore. I felt like a trespasser in my own life, a silent observer of a story I no longer understood. But I knew I needed proof, undeniable proof. I couldn't confront her with just suspicion. I had to be sure. For the next few days, I kept my distance, pretending everything was normal while my mind raced. I questioned every memory, every moment we had shared. Was it all a lie? Or just a betrayal I was too blind to see? Then came the night when she told me she had to work late again. I felt a cold resolve building inside me. No more guessing. Tonight, I would find the truth. That night, my heart hammered with a mixture of fear and determination. Aisha had said she was working late again, but I knew better now. I sat quietly in the dim light of our living room, waiting for the right moment to follow her, to find out what she was hiding. When she finally left, her steps hurried. She looked back briefly, and I caught the shadow of guilt, or was it regret, on her face. I kept my distance, careful not to make a sound, blending into the night as if I were a ghost haunting a life that was no longer mine. She didn't go to the office. Instead, she took a cab to a hotel downtown, one I recognized from the receipt I'd found earlier. My hands trembled as I watched her disappear inside. I stayed across the street, the cold air biting at my skin, heart pounding so loud it was almost painful. The lobby lights glowed warmly through the glass, a stark contrast to the cold emptiness inside me. I sat on a bench, trying to steady my breathing, knowing this was the moment I'd been dreading, but also needing. Minutes passed like hours. Then, the elevator doors opened and Aisha stepped out, not alone. Behind her was a man, tall, confident, with a smile that didn't belong to me. They moved closer together, hands brushing, laughter shared like a secret language. It was intimate, unmistakable. Lust and betrayal tangled in a way I had never imagined. I saw her lean in, lips meeting his in a way that made my chest ache. The warmth between them was electric, something I had once thought was ours alone. I wanted to scream, to run away, to confront them, but my body froze, overwhelmed by shock and sorrow. As I watched them disappear into a room, I felt a storm of emotions raging inside me. Anger surged like wildfire, but beneath it was a deeper, more devastating pain. The woman I loved, the life we had built, was crumbling before my eyes. I sat there, numb, replaying the scene over and over in my mind. How long had this been going on? How many lies had I swallowed? Every late night, every excuse. It all made sense now, and yet it hurt more than I expected. The hotel's neon sign flickered overhead, casting eerie shadows on the sidewalk. I was a stranger to myself, caught between disbelief and reality. The man's presence, the softness of Aisha's touch, it was a betrayal I could no longer deny. I thought about confronting her right there, but fear held me back. What would I say? How would I face the woman who had been my everything, and now was someone else's secret? I needed time to process, to decide what to do next. I stayed long after they disappeared inside, watching the quiet hum of the city at night. My mind raced through memories, trying to hold on to the fragments of a love that felt like it was slipping through my fingers. I decided I couldn't keep this inside. I needed answers, no matter how painful. The next day, I planned to confront her, to demand the truth. But even as I made that decision, I knew nothing would be the same again. The discovery was a wound that cut deep, but it also ignited a fire within me, a fire of clarity, of resolve. I was no longer blind. The path ahead was uncertain, but I was ready to face it, one painful step at a time. The hours dragged like heavy chains as I waited outside that hotel room, every sound amplified in my ears. My palms were sweaty, heart thrumming wildly against my ribs. I rehearsed what I'd say over and over, but the words felt hollow, powerless, against the storm swirling inside me. When the door finally opened, Aisha stepped out, her eyes wide with surprise that quickly shifted to a flicker of something like guilt, or maybe shame. Behind her, the man lingered briefly, his smile fading when he saw me standing there, a stranger no longer invisible. I didn't speak at first. Instead, I let the silence stretch between us, thick and suffocating. Finally, my voice cracked, barely a whisper but filled with years of pain. Why? She looked away, biting her lip, struggling to meet my gaze. It's not what you think, she murmured, but the lie was obvious, brittle as shattered glass. Not what I think, I repeated, anger flaring. I saw everything. The late nights, the hotel, him. How long? Her defenses crumbled. Tears welled in her eyes, but I didn't feel pity. Betrayal wasn't softened by excuses or tears. I was lonely, she confessed, voice trembling. We grew apart and you didn't notice. I felt a bitter laugh rising, sour and hollow. Lonely? You could have told me. We could have fixed this. She shook her head, stepping back as if to escape the weight of her own guilt. But I wasn't done. I reached into my pocket, pulling out a stack of papers, divorce papers I had prepared days ago. The look on her face was a mixture of shock and anger. "This is real," I said, voice steady now. "I'm done pretending. I'm done being a fool." Her eyes flashed with something dark, a mixture of lust and defiance. "Is this how you want to end it? With papers and silence?" "No," I admitted, voice low, "but I can't live with lies anymore." For a moment, the raw intensity between us shifted. The pain, the rage, and the memories tangled together, igniting something unexpected, an aching desire born from heartbreak. It was confusing, terrifying even, but undeniable. She stepped closer, voice soft but urgent. "I never stopped loving you. This was a mistake." I looked into her eyes, searching for truth but finding only shadows. Then, "Prove it, or let me go." The night stretched on as we stood there, two souls fractured but unwilling to break completely. Our final moments were a clash of passion and pain, tenderness and fury. The woman I once knew was gone, replaced by someone I barely recognized. When dawn crept through the window, I knew this chapter was over. The divorce papers were signed, but more than that, something inside me had shifted. Broken, yes, but also free. The silence that followed our confrontation was heavier than any words could be. In the cold light of dawn, the weight of what had happened settled deep inside me. The house felt emptier, the walls echoing with memories that now seemed distant and fragile. I was alone, yet strangely unburdened. For days, I wandered through the motions of life, numb to the world around me. Every corner reminded me of Aisha, her laughter, her touch, the way she filled every space with warmth. But now, those memories burned like embers, painful but necessary to clear the way for something new. Pain twisted inside me like a storm, sometimes raging fiercely, sometimes whispering quietly in the depths of my mind. The betrayal cut deep, leaving scars that would not fade quickly. But amid the ache, a stubborn spark flickered, the spark of resilience. I realized that holding on to anger, hatred, or regret would only chain me to the past. Instead, I chose to reclaim my life, piece by piece. I poured my energy into work, friends, and self-discovery, seeking solace in new routines and the healing power of time. The nights were the hardest. The loneliness pressed close, and temptation whispered in shadows. Lust, too, lingered, a confusing echo of what once was and what I thought I'd lost forever. It reminded me that beneath the hurt, I was still human, still craving connection, still longing to feel alive. Slowly, I rebuilt my sense of self. I learned to trust again, not just others, but myself. I embraced the freedom that came with letting go, the chance to rewrite my story without lies or secrets. The future was uncertain, but it was mine. Sometimes I caught myself thinking of Aisha, not with bitterness, but with a quiet understanding. We were two people whose paths had diverged, bound once by love, and now by lessons learned. The pain was real, but so was the growth. I'm not sure what lies ahead. Perhaps new love, perhaps solitude. What matters is that I have the strength to face it, the courage to move forward. The pages of my life are still blank, waiting for me to write the next chapter. And for the first time in a long time, I'm ready.